Are we live? We're live. We're here now. Well, we were just watching Esa Lindell, a video the Stars just put out about a contract extension. So I guess we should probably talk about it on today's DLLS Dallas Stars podcast. So let's get to it. It's Lindell.
Trying to come eat my lunch. Well, if you haven't, this is what happened previously on the DLLS Dallas Stars podcast.
The call that you're talking about this morning, I went to McDonald's.
He could be the Craig Ludwig to the Larry Robinsons on playing on his offhand. So
I was awful.
I don't know if he knows what memorized means.
Memorized means I got here in time. I knew there was a show today, and it all starts there.
Ring the bell.
Yeah,
0 days again, John.
We keep remembering him.
And for good reason, right? The season hasn't started, and we're talking about it. There's the ding. Number of days since the last time Joe Pavelski was mentioned on this podcast. It is Tuesday, September 17th, and this is the Dallas Stars podcast on DLLS. And it's the three of us in studio today, Craig Ludwig, Sam Nestler, Owen Newkirk. And I'm not kidding you, as we just opened the show, the Dallas Stars sent the official press release, of which we found out earlier today. In fact, I think I was trying to eat my lunch up in the kitchen lounge area, and Sam and John, our producer, yell up to me in the from the downstairs up to the loft, "Hey, we have some Esa Lindell news," and it changed the show. So if you're just joining us and you haven't heard, the official release is now in my computer. Dallas Stars signed defenseman Esa Lindell to a 5-year, $26.25 million contract extension with an average annual value of $5.25 million. Luddy, I swear we just did this segment, was it last week, where we were talking about what would the future of Esa Lindell be? And I'm glad we did, because that would have been an irrelevant segment a week later. And we were talking about how coveted Lindell would be if he became a trade bait target, if he wasn't on a contending team like the Stars. And if he hit free agency, I think a lot of teams would fire a very big salary at him. And you didn't think that that was going to happen, and you were dead right.
Well, if we had a producer that would be on the ball, we'd have that sound right now, and then we could have proof to it. But we don't have that kind of guy.
We don't save that stuff.
Got a rookie. So, I think the reason I feel that way is he doesn't have that demeanor. It's the personality. Like I said, I named a couple other cities. I didn't see him playing in that. I think he loves Dallas. He seems to be, he's a low maintenance player. I think that's probably what the Stars love about him. And I mean that from the standpoint of off the ice, and you know what you're getting from him. He's a quiet guy. He goes about his business every night. You know what you're getting from him as a player. He's been durable. So I think this was a no-brainer for Dallas, and I think for Esa, it's where he probably wanted to finish his career at, if that's what may happen. And I know you have other details on no trade and stuff like that, but I think they got him for a great number. I don't even know if you mentioned the number yet right now, but it's a hell of a deal, I think, for the Stars.
Yeah, it is 5-year average, $5.25 million cap hit. It is year one is a $4 million salary with 2.5 signing bonus. Year two, $4 million and 2.5 signing bonus. Year three, 4.25 and a $1 million signing bonus, and then years 4 and 5 at a $4 million cap hit. Years 1 through 3 will include a no trade clause, and then years 4 through 5 a 20-team no trade clause. So let's talk about the number. What did Lud say? Keep it under 7. Is that what you said?
I originally thought he'd get about 6.5, but keep it under 7. And they really did.
5.25.
And
he actually went down, because his current contract, which extends until the end of this year, is $5.8 million AAV. It was a 6-year deal, and this is year 6 going into it right now. So it went down almost $600,000 in average cap hit.
It's proof that the guy loves it here. It's proof that he believes in what's in the locker room right now, because they're going to win. And I just think it's his speed, and again, I think that's the city matches his off ice, on ice personality. He's a penalty muncher when it comes to times. And you had those numbers last week, I think it was, Sam, his penalty on the PK. I mean, there was nobody else in the league even close to him, right? Yep. And so you know what you're getting there. And I think he stayed healthy. I think he takes care of himself. So I expect him. I think the reason the number comes down, I'm just curious if the group, meaning Esa and his representatives, wanted a little bit more. And then maybe they offered an extra year in there and they get that down, because that's important too moving forward, because there's some guys, some young kids that are going to need some money coming up. And we're going to talk about that a little later. I look at him kind of like I look at a guy like Connor McDavid. And, when McDavid signed his big deal, I know it's a bad comparison for you guys. You're all kind of, what are you talking about? Let's see where Ludwig's going right now. Connor could have taken 20% of the team's salary cap, right?
Yep.
He didn't do that because he wanted to make sure he got surrounded by another player. And there's other guys like that. I'm just saying, I think Esa understands that and going, okay, well, yeah, I want to get us the best team that we can. If I'm going to leave a little money on the table, I get an extra year out of this thing, and I'm just going to go out and do my
and
job.
With the cap projected to go up pretty substantially.
He does skate kind of similar to Connor at times.
Yeah, similar player. Yeah, very similar
Morning
player.
Skates.
Comparable.
Morning skates.
But with the cap going up, that percentage, as you talked about, for Esa is he's getting plenty of money. I mean, $26 million is nothing to sneeze at, but stretched out over 5 years gives him a lower cap hit, which is good for the team. He gets that security. And from a percentage-wise, that goes down because the cap is supposed to rise into and up to, I think, about $100 million over the next couple of seasons, it's $88 million this year.
So are you saying in 3 years from now, he's going to, what the hell did I do?
Maybe no, but I'm just saying
it's going to look very team friendly.
Yes.
Right, and I think that's okay, because it's not like he hasn't made a ton of money already.
Yeah.
And you talk about liking the city. Well, his fellow Finns, Miro Heiskanen is going to be here. Roope Hintz is going to be here because they both signed long term.
Huru
Could be the next
R2D2.
We could have the Star Wars droid join them as the next member of the Finnish mafia. Hakanpää's gone, Kiviranta's gone, but the point is that he's established here and he has those Finnish connections. Why wouldn't he want to be here?
Yeah.
Their biggest expenses when they go to Whole Foods.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, I told you that story before. I mean, they take care of themselves. The Finns take care of themselves. God bless them. So I think, like I said, I think he's a low maintenance guy. I would think that sometimes guys don't even know he's in the room. He's quiet and goes about his business. But again, if you're not in the room, you don't really know all that stuff. I'm sure they have their little banter between all the Finns, and it's a great deal. In my opinion, I said that earlier. I think this is a super deal for the Stars and for Esa and his family. Everybody wins here.
So, Sam, what do you think about this?
Well, does Duolingo have Finnish on it?
I'm sure it does.
Because that's something I need to get on there
okay,
so I can understand what they're talking about.
Well, you should. You were out sick, but Razor spent time playing in Karpat, so he's got some Finnish in his lingo.
I'll just have him mix in words. Every
Razor's
once in a while.
never finished. He just goes on and on and on.
Thanks for coming on the show, Daryl. We appreciate it. But speaking of which, the modified no trade in the last 2 years, you were talking about the signing bonuses. So full no trade clause for Esa in the first 3 seasons of this extension beyond this year. So it's actually 4 years counting this year and then 3 more. And then what do you make of the no signing bonuses, those final 2 years, when it goes through to a 20-team no trade clause or no trade list rather than a full no trade?
I guess it's a little bit of wiggle room for the Stars, right? It gives.
Think about it.
Yeah, I mean,
you were talking about the extra years.
It gives them a little bit of freedom in those last 2 years because, I mean, I don't see any issue. Esa Lindell is 30 years old. I don't see him being an issue at 34 years old, but it gives them the freedom to, if it came down to it and they had younger guys that have stepped into the role and maybe Esa, it's not always about a guy moving on because he doesn't fit or isn't a good player anymore. What's this? Fowler and for Anaheim's a perfect example of that. There's just other guys that need to get time on the ice. So let's say in a few years that we have Bixel and maybe another young guy that are in there and need some roles. It gives Dallas a little bit of flexibility to say, all right, Esa, we're not going to send you off to a random team. You have your 20 team, but it gives them the flexibility to have those 2 years not be a super strict, we're stuck in a bottle kind of situation.
He could be a Chris Tanev kind of guy at some point for some team that's a cup tender.
Yeah.
Contender. And, he gets into his 4th year or maybe even into the 5th year. And, there's some young kids that they know that they have to pay. And there's a team that's right on the brink and they're looking for that kind of guy. And it, maybe that's and again, I'm not saying this is on Esa's side, but from a management side, saying we're going to make this very easy if somebody down the road wants to make a move, and we figure we can make it work for both sides.
Do you think that was part of the negotiation? Is if you want the extra year, that'll help with our AAV, but also give us a little flexibility so we might be able to move you if we needed to. Not saying you want to, but just leaving that option open versus a full no move. Because remember, Jason Spezza came in here, Jamie Benn, a couple others I could name. Jim Nill was handing out full no move clauses. I think Ryan Suter had that as well. Even if you didn't like him, you couldn't do anything unless the player said okay.
Speaking of Suits, is he getting paid by 3 teams now?
I believe so.
4 teams, maybe?
Yeah, 3.
I think one more year
3
for Minnesota,
including the one he's playing for now.
It's Minnesota, Dallas, and St. Louis now.
Yeah.
Would be the 3rd, right?
Yeah.
Is that it all?
That's it. Well, I mean, is that all? 3 at a time is
as of
quite a
now.
bit.
Yeah, as of now, we'll see at the trade deadline.
It's good summer money.
So I want to ask you the other side of it, because that locks in your top 3 for a substantial amount of time. Again, barring that the RFA of Thomas Harley gets signed, which we believe that that's going to happen. It's just a question of how much and for how long. Everybody seems to be saying that they're not really worried about it getting done, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So let's make the assumption that Harley gets a deal done, whether it's at the start of camp, which is in 2 days, or before the start of the regular season. And you have Harley, you have obviously Miro Heiskanen, and you have Esa Lindell.
What do they all have in common?
They're all left-handed.
You wanted to say
That's
that.
not
I know you did.
exactly where I'm going with, but yes. But more of
Heiskanen.
your top 3's locked in long-term once you get the Harley deal done, whether it's a bridge or not. How does that affect the way the rest of the blue line goes over the next 4 or 5 years?
TBD. And when you say they're top 3 locked in, maybe one of them isn't a top 3.
Are they
in 3
3 of your
years from
top
now.
4, maybe?
I would say you have 2 of your top 3. I mean, I'm saying S as a top 3, but maybe he, in the eyes of the scheme of the team, age, whatever draft picks they have coming up, he may not be one. And because I think Harley's young enough, he's going to be. Miro skates well enough, he's probably going to be. Esa doesn't. He's not lightning. Esa's just steady. I mean, can he be replaced at some point by a younger guy? He would. In a way, he almost kind of reminds me a little bit of myself at times. Like, you know, you're
and Connor McDavid.
You're
So Lud's just
we're all in the
Lud's
same,
just
we're all in
directly
the same
compared
boat.
himself to Connor McDavid.
Did you see the video of McDavid filling his trunk up with beer during the playoffs?
Oh, so you're off the ice like
did
Connor
you
McDavid.
see that video?
I didn't.
You didn't? They
No.
had a video of Connor McDavid.
You're gonna have to show him after
with
the
the
show.
fans?
In between rounds with the fans.
Oh, I did see that.
Okay,
They were
kind
all
of alike.
over him?
We're
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
alike.
yeah,
I
all
just
right.
do that every week.
And you get fans surrounding you like that
I take
as
care
well.
of my teammates. I'll take care of you guys too. Rugged Road Coolers. We'll see if that beer lasts the whole week. So no, what I'm saying is, like, I just think that it just makes a lot of good sense for both sides of this negotiation thing, and everybody's happy here. And you don't know where your team's going to be in 3. We say that this window is right now.
Yep.
And maybe it is 2 years from now. And if Esa stumbled a little bit and wants to go on, then maybe he can team. I don't see that happening, because otherwise they wouldn't have done this deal. So, like I said, I just think it's a great deal for both sides. I don't expect Esa Lindell to play for another team in his career, but who knows?
Yeah. The question again maybe is, at this number, cap keeps going up. Is there a scenario 3 years from now or 4 where he can be paid $5.25 million and be used as a 3rd pairing defenseman? Because I call him a top 3 because they use him. He gets a ton of ice time, and he's your number 1 penalty killer. He's had the most penalty kill minutes in the NHL year after year for, I think, at least 4 or 5 seasons now. And we talked about it on that last segment. The question is, as this contract ages, is there a point where you would go, ooh, I don't know if I want him paying what he's getting paid to be outside the top 4? Maybe he won't be.
Like
maybe
too much, you're saying? It would be too much.
Is that, geez, I really want a guy making 2 or 3 in my 3rd pairing. I'm just asking because I think that this will age quite well.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about Esa Lindell.
Yeah, I think that the penalty killing is the big part of that, because we talked with Sean. I can't even imagine what day that was anymore, but we talked about it's not the worst thing in the world if Esa Lindell is playing fewer minutes and just focusing a ton on penalty kill. Like maybe not 3rd pairing, especially not now. But I think if that's something that you're doing, and the question is it worth it? Let's say in 3 years, right? Esa Lindell is making the 5.25. He's playing 3rd pairing minutes, but he's killing every penalty. Is that worth 5.25 to have a guy who is so good at killing penalties?
If in 5 years the cap is at 110 or something, that there's probably not that big a deal.
Well,
is it?
what I was going to say is, like, when you look at it now, a top pairing defenseman is what, $6 million and up. right? The second pairing defenseman is somewhere between 3.5 up to 5.5. The third pairing is there. That might be a third pairing salary in 3 years
That's
from now.
my question. Yeah.
Well, I
You
just
could-
gave
you
you the
could-
answer.
But if that's the case, then that's even better. That the aging of that contract. If there's a point where you're going, geez, we could have a guy making 2.5 and get the same, then that's maybe where that modified
Correct.
no move comes in.
It would be funny to think like Thomas Harley's a good example because we're expecting him to sign for 2 years, right? That's what
and
seems to be the
from
case.
what the reporting is, and again, nothing is really on the record, but what we're hearing is that the offer might be lower than what we think it is, like more of a bridge deal than a long term, right? There was some speculation a few weeks ago that Harley would be, and Luddy, we were talking about this on our show, that north of 6, right? 7 even, long term. Doesn't sound like that's going to be in play right now.
No, it sounds like under 4 is much more realistic if he's doing a 2-year
Do
deal.
you agree with that? I mean, I mean, I'm sure Harley's camp is not thrilled with that number.
Yeah, I think the main argument, and Neil kind of mentioned this a little bit when I talked to him, is that Harley only has 1 year of experience. So that they compared him to, I'm going to forget his name again.
You're talking about the Oilers
Connor
guy.
Bouchard?
Evan Bouchard.
Oh.
Yeah.
So Bouchard was same age when he signed his deal.
Can you tell we had the same conversation off the air?
He's making, that 3 point, I think it was 3.78, 3.87, whatever, something like that, on his bridge deal. And he has 2 seasons that he's already proven it. So I think that's the argument where Harley might be saying, here's what I've done, here's what I should be making. Whereas Nil and the Stars are saying, prove it to go out. Okay, make this 2 years. Let's say they sign him 2 years, 3.75, random number. Prove it that you can be this again. Because, I mean, how much would it?
So 24-year-old Evan Bouchard's current cap hit in year 2 of a 2-year contract, 3.9.
3.9.
That's under 4.
Yeah, so under 4. So somewhere in that 3.7, 3.8. So that's my.
Bouchard's 24.
Yep, and he had a little bit better year.
He had 18 goals and 82 points in 81 games.
And he was excellent in the playoffs.
And he played with Connor McDavid.
Thomas Harley.
He did play with Connor McDavid.
So
but he scored more goals.
We
got to
get a new Bell. We don't have just the Joe Bell. We're going to have the Connor Bell.
Well,
there
there's
can just
the
be
Joe
one bell, and the audience will have to deduce what it is.
Yeah.
We have a
to.
smart audience. They'll be fine.
Figure it out. But yeah, I think it's a good point that's where the number goes. But I'm more talking after that. If he's 4 years, we're talking Esa Lindell making 5.25 and being on a third pair. What is Thomas Harley making?
Well, if he
is
continues,
that top pairing
if
making
he continues the way he's going,
9?
he's going to get a contract north of 6 easily, right? It's going to be, I mean, but then that means the Stars are getting great value from him because he's putting up big points and being very offensive from the blue line.
What is Miro making right now?
8.
His cap hit?
Right in the
8.5.
9 neighborhood.
Okay.
8.9.
So you'd imagine that Harley would be signing
around
around there, right? If he comes and is Harley again for 2 more seasons.
I think that Harley's going to come in above 4 on a bridge deal. That's what I think.
Okay.
I think that it's going to, again, I keep using Sider. I don't even know if they're really that comparable. I mean, Sider is a little bit more physical kind of guy, but otherwise I think they're in the same neighborhood. And I think Sider is going to be somewhere around, if they do a bridge with him, it's going to be somewhere around 6. And I don't think Harley's, you know what I mean? I don't think he's 3. I don't think he's half.
But does Harley, has he earned the right to compare himself to Sider?
I can understand that argument, what they're trying to use.
So maybe they come in at 4.
I look at his trajectory and what he's done, how he's come on, and I don't see him. I don't think the guy's going to take a step back.
Yeah.
I think he's only going to. I think his confidence has grown over the last year, and I think you're going to. And it helps playing with Miro, and I think
Miro's at 8.45. You think that's not going to be a steal? Because he's in year 4 of an 8-year contract. You think years 6, 7, and 8, you're going to go, my God, that's a steal.
I mean, I would imagine
Under
Harley
9.
being around that, right, with the salary cap going up and him getting a long-term
but that's
deal.
interesting because they were talking about Steve Yzerman in Detroit saying Dylan Larkin's at 8.7, or I can't remember exactly the number, but it's something. And so Lucas Raymond, which we're going to get to a little bit later, isn't going to be over Dylan Larkin's number. So is Miro Haskins' number kind of a glass ceiling
like the max,
for, well, if Miro's making this, you're probably not making 9.
So
maybe
Miro hasn't won that award yet, right? And you know what I mean? So that'll be a bit of a benchmark for him. But where's Makar? Is Makar over 10? Cale Makar? Like come on, you guys. You're supposed to know this kind of stuff.
We have it in front of us.
Look at there's smoke coming off the keys right now.
My computer's ready to blow up.
He's at 9.
9
He's
even.
at 9. Okay.
6 year, 54
So
million.
he's at 9 and Miro's at 9. You can
8.5.
call it 8.9. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. That
8.5.
8.4.
4.5. 8.45.
Oh my God,
4.45.
you guys.
You're giving me crap for not knowing. I'm just giving you the answers. You know,
out here, these two are
Wait.
arguing around an 8.5.
That means
and
$500,000. That means something to me.
we're gonna carry this over. Yeah.
We can keep going. You want to?
Should we talk about?
We
Should we talk
should-
about some
we-
things
we
here?
should.
I think
We should- we should pay some
beyond that
bills.
I'm
point.
going to set this out.
All
I'm
right.
going to set this one out.
Well, okay.
Let's talk
Catch your
about,
breath.
I believe, Empire Today. Yes, Empire Today. With Empire Today, you get shop-at-home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick, professional installation, and a low price guarantee. They are your one-stop flooring shop. Provide the best and most efficient service. It won't always be the most affordable, but it will have the best experience, and you will get the best quality products like we have in the other studio. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. So, of course, they're going to have copycats, but Empire can't be beaten on quality, can't be beaten on service, speed, competition, advertise low-quality products that Empire simply will not carry because they set the bar, Owen. They set the bar. We know that Empire has the best jingle. No, just
Do
kidding.
it.
Not just kidding. Not going to do it today. It's not the day. It's not the day.
300.
If we start, will you join in?
Did you hear that?
No, he
Is
just
that
did
loud
it
enough
really
for him to
quick.
do it?
I used to grow up on this up in northern Wisconsin. Like this company used to be out of Chicago all the time.
This was
I-
like
the
growing up
jingle, I'd
watching
have that-
football.
I know.
You love it. You love it. And he rolls his eyes. If
I can't wait for the audio version, and we
And
post
that
it up.
does not mean I want to use or do this read at any point in my short life that I have left.
So you don't
throwing
wanna
that-
do this
Don't be
tomorrow.
tossing that in.
I
there.
should not give you this read tomorrow.
Sam,
Is that what you're saying?
if it helps, most of the time you don't even get through
Give it to me on
I've only gotten
Friday.
through like 2 lines. So
Lads won't be here on Friday.
Empire
get it?
Today has a virtual floor designer. It lets you snap a picture and look at what the floors will look like in any room in your home. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners receive $350 off discount when they use the promo code DLLS. That's 2 L's, DLLS. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details.
I'm just impressed because he couldn't read the Discord graphics on the monitor when we did the damn Discord channel last week, but he's got tiny fonts.
It's supposed to be at 125 zoom. It's not.
It's
This is
really,
what it's
there
supposed
you
to
go,
look like.
because you were reading pretty, so you must be a little nearsighted.
Yes. I'm not
Well,
wearing contacts either.
You could use some glasses.
Or glasses.
And maybe a pair of Shady Rays, right?
Yeah.
So you can get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. I can even read this through my Shady Rays lenses. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
He looks good in those.
Their shades have durable frames, crystal clear optics, and they are the perfect choice for all outdoor activities.
yeah.
They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. Look at these. So I bought these.
We need the
I
background
didn't even know that
behind
Shady
you.
Rays was going to give us a pair, which we're going to get soon. So I just went out and bought these.
Been
It even
hearing
says
about that for like
Shady
4 weeks
Rays
now.
right here on the little cleaning bag, the microfiber.
We can see
And-
the entire studio setup through Owen's glasses right now. For
There
the
you go.
video
Yeah, you can
listeners.
see the
Oh,
reflection.
behind the
These-
scenes.
These are high quality lenses. You don't have to worry if you don't like them. They have a 30-day return, worry-free guarantee. You can exchange for a new pair or just give them back. There's no risk when you shop. Their team is always there to have your back with personal fast support. Plus, they have a lost or broken replacements policy, so you don't have to worry about your glasses getting damaged when you're getting outdoors and having a lot of fun. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out the best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code DLLS for 35% off
35?
polarized sunglasses.
35?
Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars on over 300,000 people. And I bought these before I knew about the 35% off or
full
the fact that
price.
Shady Rays was going to give us a complimentary pair.
Yes.
So I just gave them all the money.
I'd like the number to Rugged Road Coolers.
G.
I think we need to bump up the percentage off a little bit here.
Is there music playing somewhere?
We got a
Yeah.
party going on upstairs?
Is that in the
Sounds like
office
it.
or is that outside?
That's definitely in our office.
Another
Yeah, it's
office
coming
party
over
we're
the
missing.
lounge.
If anybody is watching this video and you're out there,
I
please
don't
turn
know
off
if
the
they
music.
can hear it, though, because they may not.
On with the show.
All right, back to the show. Anything else you guys want to add on Esa, or should we move on to the carryover from our topic of yesterday?
What were we just talking about that I said let's pause?
we were talking about
There
Esa.
was something important.
We were talking about the pairings. We were talking about. Well, I mean, the one question I have is that if Luds, you have we talked about this last week. The Miro on his left or his right. You have Heiskanen, you have Lindell, you have, again, presuming that Harley signs his deal, 3 of your top 4 left-handed. You have Matt Dumba, you have Ilya Lyubushkin, you have Nils Lundqvist, all right-handed. Jim Nill even said we might have to visit the idea of going 3 left, 3 right. Mike Heika, who covers the Stars for the team on the DallasStars.com website, had that in his article, I believe it was yesterday, where Jim threw out there, well, that might be a lefty-righty kind of thing to look at. But I believe that they're going to stick with the 3 of those guys, 3 lefts in the top 2 pairings. Do they think about maybe trying to develop Leon Bixel to play on the right, or is that more of a keep him on his strong side kind of thing as a prospect?
Well, according to our show yesterday, he didn't have such a good camp, right?
That's true.
So, which doesn't mean
Showcase.
shit. I'll say that right now. He's got an opportunity to do that and, improve on that. I don't know. I'm still curious who's going to play. Who's number 2? I mean, if it's not Thomas, who's going to be playing on the right side with Miro if they decide to go that route?
If they're lefty-righty, that's Dumba, right? It
I
has to be.
feel like right now, if you were going to try that experiment, Dumbo would be the first they try.
I mean, it's not Lundqvist.
with Miro.
And it's not. I don't think Lyubushkin is on your top. Although they did put Hakanpää with Miro sometimes.
They
to
tried
balance
it.
it.
Yeah, no,
So,
I think Dumbo would probably be the first one. But,
Yeah.
what happens, Leds, if you go through that and it just isn't working?
Well, that's what you're going to use your first 10, 15, 20 games to see what happens. But again, Miro's pretty good on his offside.
Yeah.
Why do we got to keep going down this road? I understand, and I know there are people, and I'm one of them, that thinks that he can be a little bit better over there, but we don't know that. And I mean,
Let me ask you
they're
this. You said
knocking on the
first 10
door
or
of
20
finals.
games?
What's that?
I said you said the first 10 or 20 games. I thought maybe working through camp with knowing that Nashville's going to be better, with knowing that Colorado is right there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Utah is going to be better than they were. Their bubble team. That's, who knows where Minnesota is? Who knows where? I don't even know if I should bring up
Winnipeg.
St. Louis or
So-
Chicago. But do you think the Stars will feel comfortable tinkering that much when they desperately don't want to give up points early in the season?
So if you talk about Nashville, is Marcia So a lefty or righty?
righty.
Is Stamkos a lefty or righty?
Righty.
Righty. What is the next dude in Colorado? Righty. So do you want Miro on his left side to play against righties?
I like the
I
idea.
was wondering where he was going with that.
No, I'm wondering, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, right.
Or do you want to go ahead? Who's our best defensive defenseman?
Is Esa, I think, right now.
Okay, well, if you're worried about things like that, maybe Esa goes up there
Yeah.
and plays, and Miro stays on his right side. Again, you almost got to the Stanley Cup final
Yeah.
with Miro playing where Miro was.
Well, I think the interesting thing is that Nil actually said that he might look at that. That's
yeah,
like we can say
he
whatever.
threw it
we
out
want.
there,
Yeah,
right?
we
I
can
think
say whatever we
I
want.
think they've
but
looked at it for the last 3 years.
Yeah, they've
and
tried.
they just haven't found the right pieces. And so, again, you guys are. I've heard you say Dumba, which I don't know if that's the guy. I don't know
either.
if he's a number 2.
I don't either.
So again, I look at Dumba being the kind of guy, and we've talked about this plenty already. Is I don't have to go back to it, but he's a physical guy. He skates well, and he's a physical guy. If you're going to play in the top pair and you're going to play with your top 3 forwards or even your top 6 forwards, you have to be able to get the guys the puck when they need to get the puck. Can he do that? And if he can do that, then maybe he's a good fit up there. TBD again.
Right.
But
is it the only reason I ask you about the first 10 or 20 games is simply because the competition for the division.
don't lose any ground.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
don't want to be
It-
losing
And
any
that's
ground.
that's exactly what I'm
it
saying.
doesn't
And
feel like the Stars
will
are
the
going to be.
coaches go to Harley, Heiskanen, Esa, and Dumba or whoever simply because they feel they can't lose any ground in the first 10 to
That's
20
why I'm
games?
saying I think you start the way you finish.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
So
So-
again, that doesn't even answer the question who's going to be number 2
Yeah.
on the right side.
Do you,
on
do
your
you,
second pair.
Do you believe? Are you more on the philosophy of put your top 3 at the top 3, or match it up
Are you talking
with
your defenseman?
Yeah,
I think
Versus
you
right
have-
you have your
lefty.
best skill guys and your best defensive
When
guys.
I look at
do
the
they go
when
in
I
top
look
3?
at the minutes, the way that Pete does it from a coaching standpoint, and when the coaches are allocating minutes and they're putting people out there where they want people out there, their minutes are pretty even across the board. He
Yeah.
doesn't lean on Miro. Well, again, Miro does because he first off, he can stay out there. You know, he can go
Not
ahead
human.
and stay there, and he doesn't get tired. And the power play time and everything else. So, but I think for the most part, your minutes are pretty even, and I don't know if they really panic when there's your third pair is out there against the number 2 line from the other team. It's not like, oh my God, we got to change. And so, I think that right now where you are, you've got some good balance in your 6. Not going to say that they're going to be the best 6 as a group in the NHL.
But they're good enough for the regular
But
season.
you're still a team. Your team is built on not back in the day where we were defending. They're built on let's go, let's put some points up, let's get some goals.
Their philosophy under DeBoer is many coaches want to do this, but DeBoer's system is spend as little time in the defensive zone as possible.
Yeah.
That's the best way to win hockey
Best
games,
way.
right?
So-
Yep.
And let's not forget we got a pretty good goalie back there.
Yeah, it helps too.
For last season, average time on ice, Heiskanen was 24 minutes 32 seconds. Harley was 21:01. Lindell 20:28. Tanev 19:13.
It's pretty balanced top 4.
Yeah, Suter 19, Hakanpää 18:40. So
Even
outside of
Miro,
Miro was 24. So 3-minute gap is the biggest gap of everybody, and that's
You're
just
looking
Miro.
at Drew. You're looking at Doughty and McCartney's. They're playing 27-28 a night.
So
So
that was a conscious
'Cause
thing.
they
to
don't
try
have
well,
the-
they were trying to keep Miro from burning out in the regular
Yeah,
season.
and they don't
They
have the
should.
depth
Yeah.
of those teams.
should,
like
and they were
LA
able
is
and he
gonna
was
play
better in
him.
the playoffs because of
Yeah.
it.
they were. What
Yeah.
did they miss the number 1 team by 1 point, 2 points?
Yeah, it's the
overall in league?
President's Trophy.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of
Yeah.
working for them.
Right. And that's I've said this before on the show, but I'll repeat it. Their group now, I'm not worried about for regular season hockey.
Correct.
The question is, and Jim even said this, is this good enough for going into the Stanley Cup playoffs, which you fully expect this team to not just make it, but again, contend.
Yep.
And if that's the case, they're going to have 60 games or so to determine if they need to make a move. And if they get Harley at that sub 4 number we're talking about, they will have some real cap room to wiggle with and not just have to do, those player up, call up, send downs every other day to try to scrap those every little penny they can, but actually have some decent room if they need to, whether it be injury or to make a trade.
I've even heard Lundqvist's name mentioned playing with Miro. Whether that's going to
I
be or
like
not,
the
I don't.
theory of it.
It would be
If-
so good if he could be what we think he
well,
could be.
if with his skating, and he does have offensive ability and moving the puck, if he could do that and
I
complement
think he'd
Miro
be better with Esa.
because of the sort of contrast of styles.
Yes. I think you have 2 guys then that are kind of leaning forward. Not that Thomas isn't, but with Miro and Lundqvist, if that's what it was. But I just think you have that balance in a pair.
Well, this is a great plug right now. We are going to do pairs and lines and everything like that in the coming weeks. And we posted today, join the Discord. If you're not already a diehard, become a diehard. But if you're in there, in the Discord, we're going to take all of your suggested lines and pairings, and we're either going to tell you why they're good or Lud's is going to tell you why they suck. So make sure you do that in the next week or so we can have that conversation.
So go to alldls.com, click on the Die Hard logo. You can also do alldlls.com/join-diehard. Remember that? Those were Ludz's first reads, were that hyphen thing that
Yep.
he
I'm
was
sure
loving.
we'll have that soundbite.
You'll love that.
We don't have anything
don't have
about
the-
Esa, but
you
we'll have
saying
that
the right
one.
thing in prognostication.
Let's just work on getting a suck button, a suck soundbite.
Well,
Why-
with-
So I don't have to say it.
Hold on. If we all go quiet, Luds can do it for us so that we can avoid copyright issues. So
I don't know what a
make
suck button would be.
like
Suck soundbite.
you
Yeah,
just have
do-
to say it, and then he'll
Suck.
record it.
That's it.
But you gotta say
That's
it with
suck.
me.
No, do it. Like do like
Like
a do like a sort of thing,
But they don't need to hear this right
Here,
now.
I got you.
There you go. Use that. That wasn't me.
Anyway,
Solo.
you can be a diehard. Go to alldls.com, join the diehard program, get a free t-shirt code every year that you subscribe. You also get access to all of Sam and Sean's articles because some of them are behind the diehard paywall. And you can do things like hit up Luddy in the Discord, which, again, he might not be in the Discord or know how to find the Discord channel.
Or what a
but
Discord is.
We will read those questions to him. And we're going to have to do that on Thursday this week again. So it's the second straight Thursday damn Discord.
Why don't we just change it to Discord
Because I like
Thursdays?
the idea of it being Fridays, but if you're going to be gone, then we'll do that.
Okay.
Sam, you have to do one more read, though.
We flipped it there.
No, you flipped it.
I didn't even mean to. I was just talking about the Discord, but
Well, good thing our producer can think on his feet.
yeah, John's smart. Let's talk about sleeper now. Devontae Smith last night. He hit. Did I not tell you guys to bet on
You
Devontae
brought
Smith
him up.
over
Yeah,
6.5? I didn't. I might not have known who they were playing.
Yeah, how'd the Eagles do?
They lost
Did they now?
at the last second. I heard
They did.
they had a chance.
Heard.
They had a
I
chance.
watched.
Saquon
What do you mean
Barkley.
by heard? You don't even watch your games that you're telling people who to pick?
You think I watched the NFL games?
Apparently not.
No.
Why don't you ask Luds which team
But-
he's cheering for?
Luds is a big fan of the Pack.
Yeah,
The Pac-Men.
I'm on Wisconsin.
The Pac-Man. So oh man. So tonight
They won without Jordan Love this
so
week.
tonight there's no football, right? But
No.
what
Tuesday, the only day of the week.
What
without
about
football?
are you kidding me, John, with the names that you give me here? What about a
telling us to be quiet?
Shohei
I'll help you with that one.
Ohtani
Oh,
dinger?
now we're doing a little baseball.
You'll get 2.49 times your money if Shohei goes yard against the
Shohei.
Marlins tonight. For real, with the names. Give
Come
me
on,
a real
really?
name, will you?
Of all the names, you're
It's like the greatest
the
athlete in the world
most
right now.
famous
Is he the
baseball
one who got in
player on the
trouble?
planet.
Is he the one who got his
He didn't get in
translator got in
His
trouble.
trouble?
translator.
No,
He
because
was-
his translator was the one doing it.
You need to do some more investigative journalism. Sam.
You're a
Sleeper,
reporter?
not of that, not of
You're a
baseball.
sports reporter?
Not of baseball. You knew that name?
Yeah.
The
Ohtani's
FBI
like
got
the
involved.
Biggest dude in baseball, man.
He is the
a
biggest.
pitcher that hits 50 dingers a year.
So he's going to hit a dinger tonight. So you should
Who are
bet,
they playing?
So you should bet on the Marlins. You're not listening to my read?
No, I don't.
No, I
See,
wasn't
don't.
reading. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, with Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper keeps you in the loop, instant alerts, breaking news on Shohei Ohtani,
Just say Ohtani.
and major
really
injuries.
hurts to hear him say
Stay
that.
ahead of the game, keep track of league updates in real time, so you're always informed and ready to outsmart your friends. Do you think you have what it takes? Download the Sleeper app, use the code DLLS Stars to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. You know what? I'm an NHL and a college football guy, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm not. I don't know anything about the NFL. I haven't watched the NFL since I was a big
it
Steelers
does
fan when I
own
was a
a
little
day-
kid.
day of the
You're
week.
done, Sam.
Yeah. You be you.
Sundays when I write because there's nothing on TV.
All right. Let's move back into our coverage of today's show where we're going to actually do a callback to yesterday because yesterday, oh, wow, look at that. Fusion Mix said, Sam, you are the weakest link.
Oh,
Appreciate
I love
it.
that show.
Appreciate it.
Goodbye. Well, he's still here. But yesterday we talked about Traverse City, the showcase that will feature just this year the Dallas Stars and the Detroit Red Wings. We talked about how in the 10 years, at least since I've been covering and working for the Stars, now covering the Stars, it went from a 8-team showcase where each team played 4 games. They had a knockout tournament. There were scouts from all, at the time, I think it was 30 NHL teams. Think about that. We've added Vegas and Seattle in that time. This tournament has gone from a big deal to 2 teams. Well, the GM of the Detroit Red Wings, Steve Yzerman, had media availability today, and he actually addressed it. And we have some audio for you from Steve Yzerman.
Jim Neal and I talked, playing 2 games. The tournament obviously appears to have run its course a lot of the, over the last 3 or 4 years. We've gone from 8 down to 2 for different reasons. Teams wanted to do different things. Some didn't want to play 4 games. Some wanted to save the expense and not have to travel to Traverse City. They're able to do different things. Some didn't want to play 4 games. So Dallas and ourselves played 2. I thought it was a productive weekend. I like playing the 2 games. Would we, be interested in playing a third? That might be ideal. Jim and I talked about that. Not necessarily just 2 teams, but somehow getting a third team in it. And he and I talked about, what we do next year, and potentially we continue with just the 2 teams. Maybe we try to get a third team. Maybe we do it down in Dallas. So, Kevin's answer your question is the event up in Traverse City is a little bit up in the air. For next year is a little bit up in the air right now. And we're going to, once we get through training camp, kind of reevaluate and make a decision on what we want to do next year.
Well, how about that? There's a couple of things in there that are quite interesting. Adding another team, trying to get to 3 games.
I heard Dallas.
And that's the part. Yeah, hold on. I got that. But yes, it was. Maybe we go down to Dallas and host. Now, I know a lot of the scouts and the hockey operations people enjoy going to northern Michigan at this time of year because usually, as Dallas weather can be in September, pretty intensely hot and humid. And the golf courses are probably a little bit more temperate up in Michigan at this time. But we talked about this yesterday, Luds and Sam. Brad Alberts would love to have a prospect showcase in Dallas at the Stars centers, whether it's in Frisco at Farmers, McKinney, Plano, Mansfield, Richardson. I can keep going. Euless. They're building another one, by the way, up towards I think somewhere near Salina, in that area near Prosper.
There's another one Farmers Branch.
I just said
Oh, you
Farmers
did?
Branch.
Yeah,
See,
by
you're not
me.
listening to me.
Sometimes I just get too excited.
But anyway, the point is,
Are you two roommates?
no, but
Any
we
chance?
sound like we
I
bicker,
moved in
don't
with
we?
him.
Just like you, the odd couple.
What do you think about the idea? I mean, that's a way to salvage something that seems to be going the wrong direction, is to bring it to Dallas.
I like the idea of having 4 teams. Like, let's just say it's Chicago, St. Louis, Detroit, and Dallas, and then you rotate every year. I like that idea.
I do
You
too.
know, each one you guys just go around in circles or a square, whatever you want to call it. If you got 4 teams, I just think that's the best way to go. Everybody kind of benefits from it. You know, and maybe you can expand on that. But
Everybody plays each other. You
Yeah.
get 3 games apiece.
Yeah.
And then maybe you could have a championship game if you wanted to or not. Either way.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, you have that tournament or that they call it a showcase this year. 2 games, you know, if you only take 2 goalies, maybe they get 1 game. Whereas if you get to that 3rd game, maybe you can split one, or one guy gets a couple.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see maybe a little bit more rotation of your prospects.
I'm curious, your opinion, your guys, either one of you or both. If they weren't able to get another team, do you see Dallas hosting it with 2 teams?
Just Dallas and Detroit.
Just Dallas and Detroit, like they did last year. Would you
Yeah,
see
I mean-
them? Because wouldn't that kind of be like, for me, if that was the big event and they came to Dallas and it was that, it's kind of a letdown in my opinion.
I mean, I think it's better than not having it.
Okay.
And I think that you heard what Steve said. There was productivity from the 2 games. And I think Jim Nill felt the same way. They still benefit. Jim Nill talks about being in the information collecting business. And so every time he can watch his prospects play a game, he can gather information on it. Doesn't mean it's the end all be all of a prospect's career, but he is a scout at heart, and he wants to see his players play and evaluate them in games.
regardless of where it is, there needs to be more than 2 teams.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to gather information, and like I said, it's nice not to have to play the same group of guys, you know, every other game. And when you can play against different players that have different abilities, and you can see how a defenseman can play against, you know, 2-3 different kinds of players, and you know where they kind of slot in and things like that. So I think the whole big thing, the reason we're even talking about this, because there's only 2 teams there.
Yes.
You know, I mean, if there were even 4 teams or 6 teams, it would be we wouldn't even be talking.
Be a
about this.
non-issue, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the Red Wings, we had quite a bit of news at the end of the day yesterday as Lucas Raymond signed look at the screen, 8-year, $8.075 million extension, 64.6 total contract number with Detroit. And why is this a big deal? Well, because we are looking at Lucas Raymond as a year ahead of Wyatt Johnston. And the comparables seem to be rather apropos. Wyatt has 1 year left on his ELC. But the real interesting thing is the numbers are almost identical. And we can show you that side by side. This is the first 2 seasons for each player. Now, Lucas Raymond's played 1 more year in the NHL, thus his extension, because he's out of his entry-level contract. And so he has the new extension. But Wyatt's first 2 years has a few more games played, 164 versus Raymond 156. Now, remember, Raymond played a 3rd year last year. We didn't include that. 56 goals for Wyatt versus 40 for Raymond. The points are 106 for Johnston versus 102. The plus minus is a staggering difference, but that's more of the team. That's plus 20 for Johnston, minus 49 for Raymond. What of those numbers really stand out to you, as far as, is it just because they're so similar and that's going to tell you what dictates Wyatt Johnston's next contract?
Well, there's a couple things that stand out. And again, I'm taking the plus minus out of it because Detroit team has sucked over the last couple of years, and that's just what it is. But you got the kids putting up those points on a team that sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
He's a
Wyatt's
very
putting up the
good
points
player.
on a very good team.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't so
Taking this year out of it, obviously.
So does that come into factor? Like when it comes to negotiating, say, yeah, we can use Raymond as a comparable, but he doesn't have the ammo around you that you do, Wyatt. Maybe you should be putting up more points. I don't know what they're going to do. I can't see him doing that because they're going to treat Wyatt with, golden gloves. They're going to, because he's eventually going to be the pinnacle of this team.
I mean, we talked about Jamie Benn and what his future contract might look like a couple weeks ago, and it's timely. And I'm sure that Jim Nill hasn't been lost on him that contract comes off the books at the end of this season, right when Wyatt Johnston needs a huge payday. The only question I have is, would Wyatt Johnston, or would the Stars try to do something like they did with Jason Robertson, which is a shorter bridge deal, or do they know, because Wyatt's only 21 and he's already been this good, that if he has another year like Lucas Raymond did, aka what Wyatt did this year, you might as well give him the 8-year if he can sign it.
I would think if you're management, that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Because
What about Wyatt and his agent?
I might be going the other way. I mean, again, are you betting on yourself?
Yeah, I mean, if you sign a 3-year, 4-year even, the number he would get at the end of that term for a long-term extension from there.
And remember, the
would
cap
be-
keeps going up.
would
each
be
year.
huge.
So if you're the agent for Wyatt Johnston,
And when you said Jamie Benn's contract comes off, it doesn't. There's some
Not
dollars that come
It's
off.
just not
Yeah,
Maybe
no,
a lot of dollars.
I mean,
well,
well,
what I'm saying is he's getting another contract.
Yeah, just
yeah,
not,
but it won't
not
be at that
It's
same
not going to be
number.
at
So
9, but it could be at 5.
what
Yeah.
what you
6. Sorry,
save in
Jamie.
Jamie,
7
you
and a
can
half.
probably turn towards Wyatt
Yeah.
and boost him up. Now, it may not be all of it,
Right.
But the question, I guess, for me is, do you think the Wyatt Johnston's representation, his agency, would they have any interest in a long-term deal? Because they know if you bet on him, if his progression continues. For example, if you're the Stars, do you try to sign him now? Because if he has, Luddy, what happens if Wyatt Johnston has 80 points this year, which he very well could? He led the team in
Probably
scoring
will.
last year. Does his price tag right now go up if he has another good year like this?
I think they already know the number that they want him in, at least for to get started. But you can't say that you're going to see Wyatt Johnston stumble here. I don't think
I don't
any of
either.
us would think that. So again, if you're Jim Nill and you throw out the $65 to $70 million at Wyatt and his group, I would think his guys may say, Wyatt, I don't know, you might be better off taking 4 years or 3 or 4 years. It ultimately comes down to what the group decides on. But again, I think this management group here has been really fair, and they're not trying to screw anybody. They're just trying to give you what they feel that they deserve. And I do think that there will be that conversation that says, maybe you could get a little bit more, but just remember, the more you leave over, we're trying to build a team here for you to win a cup and then another cup. And so I think that's kind of the talk with all the teams that are at the top all the time when you got your big dogs going up there to get some money. Leave a little bit on the table because we want to surround them, some other players with you guys.
Which is interesting to look even further at. They also, both of those guys play almost every game. Wyatt's played 82 both years, and Raymond played 82, 74, 82. So that's also valuable, right?
Easy
Don't
to be
forget
durable
that.
when you're younger, but
Of course,
yes.
but playing 82
But
is not
playing-
easy no matter what
no.
age you are.
Let me ask you this. Luddy just said this management group, talking about the Stars front office, has tried to be as fair as they can. Now, it's not just in the spirit of fair play, although that comes into a factor. It's also about making sure that one side doesn't win a negotiation by too much, because you don't want resentment from either side.
Right.
If the Stars feel they've overpaid, then they have to deal with the bad publicity and how it deals with having a player they feel is outperforming or underperforming to their contract.
Which they have a little bit of
And
history
if you
with.
do it the other way, you end up with something kind of like the John Klingberg contract, which was great business and great value, but he, toward the back half of that contract, was severely under his market value. And look, he still played hard, and I don't question his integrity at all, but he could have made a lot more money for what he was, a number 1 D offensive power play guy.
Yep.
And he was making in the 4s, and he was severely below where he should have been at the end of that. So I think what Luddy said was that's really important, to try to be as fair as you can so that the needle doesn't push one way or the other too much.
Yeah, especially with a guy like Wyatt, who we've mentioned multiple times as a potential captain of this team. Like, it's not that there is someone that you're thinking in your head, this guy's not going to be here long after this year or whatever, but you got guys that you as Captain America.
That's Captain America. That doesn't fit, does it?
That's
Is that
when
what the
that's,
joke is?
that's what he said he was
did
American.
that ever
remember?
since my sin bin.
I wasn't here that
with
day, I
The
don't
penalty.
Because I'd have butchered him for that.
No, you
No, you
were
were here. You just
because
didn't remember.
you were here the
You
next
were
time when
present.
I got penalized,
Remember
and
we
you guys
talked
got
about
to
soccer?
you got to just
No,
tear
I don't
into-
remember us ever talking about soccer
We made fun of it.
because I don't even. It goes out of
We
my
got to
mind.
get that clip back up, John,
we'll put
because
it up there.
he
But
remembers saying things that came true later, but he forgets
it is
about
funny
that.
what filters into Led's brain. But I think that the key there is being fair,
shots from the new guy,
so that
isn't
your off ice is also high quality. Your off ice relationship with your team, that's super important. This is not some job you're going into a cubicle every day and hiding from your boss, and it doesn't matter what your relationship is. This is something that they want Wyatt Johnston to be fully happy, have security, feel comfortable, make good money, so he can perform and not think about anything else. On the flip side, Wyatt Johnston, if he wants to be along for the long term, wants the Stars to succeed. He wants the Stars to not be put in a position in maybe 4 years where they're sending guys down every day like we saw the last couple seasons and looking, hey, we really need a defenseman, but we have no money to do it. So it's a very good point, and I think it's important for every franchise to do it, but especially for a team that is wanting to contend now and in the future.
We're going to get into a few bits of NHL news in our final segment, but before we do, I want to remind you that one of the great things about signing up for the DLLS Die Hard program is that it allows you to do multiple things. One is the Discord. I know we keep talking about the Discord, but we actually put out a feeler for our producer John did in the Discord channel. So if you get into Discord, there's a channel within it called Stars General. That's the one where we talk about, because there's ones for the other shows within it, right?
There's
you don't want
more to this now.
you don't want to have your Stars fans
This
going
is what
into
Discord looks like.
Cowboys one. There's different rooms you can go into, right? So you go to the Stars General page.
Wow.
Well, John is looking for diehards to do intros for the show, aka last time or previously on the DLLS Dallas Stars podcast. And if you do it within good taste, he might use it as part of our intro. Also, Sam just tweeted out, and our show Twitter, DLS_stars, that we are looking at your possible line projections for the upcoming season, because nothing would make us happier than for you to submit what you think the lines are and then let Luds tear them to shreds.
There
Or
are
agree with them.
already a lot of people commenting on that, too.
So we would love to do that. And maybe that'll be part of our Discord on Thursday, or maybe we'll make our own segment about it. In addition, the super chat on YouTube is now active. You can buy Luds a drink, or this has to be John because it's very unrealistic. Help him pay off his outstanding bar tabs by
Because it's so high.
submitting to the super chat.
Or because does anybody charge you?
No.
I was going to say,
I
you live
don't
in
have bar
Dallas.
tabs.
I don't think anybody
just gotta
charges
go to the right
you
places.
for that.
Luddy is a king in this town.
No.
He just said he's like Connor McDavid with the
Pawn.
fans loading
That's right.
beer
So
in his
go
truck.
to alldls.com, become a diehard, and you get access to a lot of great things, including the opportunity to submit on the Discord what you think the Stars line projection should be for the season, and have a 2-time Stanley Cup champion
Rip you to shreds.
just carve
No.
you apart. I would love it. All right. We have a phone call. Let's pick up the phone.
Oh, crap.
Is this a gimmick?
I think it's going to be.
This is an urgent message
Oh,
from the NHL Department of Player Safety. DLLS Stars Podcast host Craig Ludwig is being placed in the sin bin for the following infraction. Failure to recognize a significant pop culture reference. The infraction occurred on Saturday, September 7th in the DLLS Stars group text and was leaked by an anonymous source. As you can see from Exhibit A, Sam used the phrase,
Oh,
quote,
my apartment.
"How the turntables," a reference to the season 5 episode of the American sitcom The Office. Lutz failed to recognize the reference, instead insulting Sam's ability as a writer while himself using the incorrect version of the contraction QR. As a penalty, Lutz must choose one of the following logos and explain what it is.
Okay, did you hear that,
I didn't hear
Luds?
the last part. What was
So
the
the
punishment?
penalty is Craig Ludwig must pick one of these 5 logos, right? There's 6 logos. I can't
just
count. Recognize it and tell us what it is. Do you have any of those at all?
Well, that one on the left was spinning around a minute ago on Sam's computer. So it's got something to do with one of these damn not dilly things or discount things or whatever it's called. That's got something to do with that. That second one has got something to do with pages. That's like a notebook or something like that, right? Or not? Am I close?
We're not allowed to help you.
Our producer is dying
How
laughing.
about the little Martian guy? Okay, that's not the orange guy, the purple guy, the Martian. Is that not a Martian?
I don't know what it is.
He
I know
looks
what
like
logo.
an alien.
You guys don't know either?
I know what logo it is. I don't know if it's a
I'll tell
Martian.
you, Luds, 4 of these are like very entwined in this show.
They're what?
Are very intertwined.
We
with
use a
this
lot of
program.
them.
We do?
I bet you have one of them up on your computer right now.
Yeah, the far right one's probably up on his computer.
the flame.
What is,
I think I know what that is.
it looks like the yin and yang. You know
Little
the
bit.
little yin yang thing, whatever it is. Okay, is this bit over yet, or what are we doing? Like,
think
how
we
long
have
are we
to
going
do-
to sit
Johnny,
here?
go ahead
and
and do
do
the
this?
I
reveal.
think you had to properly identify one of them. You didn't identify a
I
single
did.
one of them.
The Martian,
Was what?
the purple Martian one. What do you mean with what?
These are brands.
Brand of what?
A brand. So like, what is that logo? Like, if it's a Stars logo, you know,
Well,
it's the Dallas Stars.
the third one looks like NBC.
It
No,
does look a
doesn't it?
little
Like
bit
the-
like,
like
the
the-
peacock.
Peacock. That's what I was in. The
All right,
flamingo.
want me to
It's
tell
not
him?
peacock. Yeah.
All right,
so
let's
please,
reveal
go
it,
ahead, John.
'cause-
From left to right, Discord,
Oh, well, I don't know a damn thing about that thing. I have no idea.
Google Docs.
Okay, I nailed that
You
one.
have that pulled
Yep,
up right
you
here.
have that
Well, you
If
pulled
you
up.
look
say
up
the
in your
name of it,
top
so
corner
you
right
didn't
there.
entirely nail
It's
it.
right there.
Well, okay, but
You have
I know that
pages,
one.
close enough.
So
Way
I
over
got that
there.
one.
Yep.
I got-
That would be the third one would be the Photos app.
Yep. Yeah.
Then we have Reddit.
The Martian.
The Martian is Reddit.
The orange one.
Okay. No, I had
They
the
voted
Martian,
you
the purple
slowest
one.
player in team history. That's
Yeah,
what
that's
from.
yours.
Sleeper would be the fifth one.
Which
So
one's
that's the Martian.
That's the
the
one
purple
you're
the
talking
Martian. Okay.
Sleeper.
Okay.
our sponsor.
And then the final one would be Tinder.
Tinder.
I have no idea that was the Tinder
I
logo.
did. That's why I said it. I thought
That's
lots of
a
that.
dating app.
That's the dating app.
Oh yeah, for seniors or
Oh
no,
no,
it's for everybody.
Well,
It could
you
be.
can set your upper bound up there if you'd like.
yeah.
You get to set your preferences. That
Yeah.
was awesome
Oh, that
because
was
I didn't
entertaining.
know
I
that
would
was
like
coming.
to point out in Led's defense, although he doesn't probably need it or want it. I almost feel like the show group chat should be off limits because there's some sort of like, hey, we're just shooting the breeze.
But he did make fun of me.
I did.
Normally, I'd say if he just didn't recognize something, whatever. But
I
he
understand. How
said,
did I make
and you
fun of
call
you?
yourself
I think
a
the
writer.
segment should be something that happens on the show, not in the group text.
Okay.
I didn't do it. I
But-
didn't even know it was coming.
But I like, okay, get it. So you're a big fan of The Office.
I love it. It's
I've
from The
seen it.
Office. I was quoting The Office when I sent that text, and you.
I've actually never watched that show.
There you go.
I'm a Seinfeld guy.
But you know
Oh.
that The Office exists.
Oh yeah.
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 By the way, big Seinfeld guy over here
Yeah.
too. So
Okay.
that's
I
two
don't
of
think we
us.
need to pit them against
You're
one
from New
another.
Jersey. You've got to be Seinfeld
The
adjacent.
Seinfeld, the thing that was on back in the day that my parents used to watch.
Oh my God! If you say the 1900s, I'm coming over the top rope.
Let's move on and talk about NHL news and notes.
NHL news and notes, real quick. Boy, none of these are really positive. Well, I guess it is in a way. The Columbus Blue Jackets signed James Van Riemsdyk to a one-year, $900,000 contract. Obviously, that's part because of the horrible tragedy that befell Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew. And so there's a huge hole in Columbus right now, both in their hearts and, of course, in their roster. And so JVR will get a chance to play with the Blue Jackets. I still think he has something left in the tank. He's a really good net front guy. He's a big body, hard to move around. He's got good hands.
His feet aren't so good anymore.
That's what I was
Yeah.
going to say. What do you think the drawbacks
I mean,
are at his age?
He's
His feet.
35. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got cement boots on now. So he gets to the front of the net. He's not afraid to go to the front
He
of the
scored
net.
11
He's got a good
goals.
stick. Yeah.
11 goals in 71 games, 38 points. So
Yeah, he's
he's
probably
the
making $4 million
fourth
last year.
line guy probably
I
for
mean,
them.
at 900K,
Yeah, you
that's
can't.
fine, right?
So I watched all those games as a Bruins fan. All of those goals came in like the first 30 games.
Do you
and
know
then he
this is a
disappeared.
Dallas Stars podcast?
Okay.
I know I'm adding.
He made a good
context,
point.
though,
He made a
like-
good point.
What,
He
that
scored
he's
a
a
lot
Bruin?
early in the year.
Yeah, he disappeared and he
not
was
a whole lot
scratched
after that.
most of the second half of the season.
So yeah, he'll bring decent value. It'll be interesting to see how Columbus handles this entire season.
It feels like they are starting the season in a massive hole.
For sure.
And they have to try to dig out and then have a good season. Could they rally? But, I mean, trying to replace Johnny Gaudreau in your lineup, let alone in their hearts and souls, is another issue altogether. Another less than stellar bit of news for hockey fans, if you're a fan of the Oilers, is Evander Kane, according to Mark Spector, who covers the Oilers up in Edmonton, said he's scheduled to have surgery sometime in the next 10 days or so. This was reported 3 or 4 days ago, so the end of last week. So he could have had it now, but they haven't officially announced it. To repair damage from the sports hernia he carried through last season, post-surgery prognosis should shed light on the recovery period and how the Oilers will approach their salary cap. Luddy, I know that no surgery is easy, but when you don't know what recovery is until you get in there, that is not a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, again, he's lost a step anyways for me since he started, so and that's kind of normal, but I think he was a piece that if he would have been a good teammate and everything like that they could really use. They needed that element, the kind of game that he can bring. But yeah, with those kind of injuries, and I know a few guys that had them, you don't know. I mean, it's just such an unknown kind of an injury, and how your body's gonna respond to it.
You made a good point the other day when I was talking about sports hernia.
That's what I do
this
here.
This is becoming sometimes, right?
Yeah.
This is becoming so much bigger of a story. We have guys just all of a sudden dropping. Brad Marchand had the surgery for 2 different sports hernias. What you made a point about being overuse.
Yes, and I just think that, again, even the younger kids, our players are done, in March, beginning of April, and then 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, there's a spring camp that starts. And then they get their personal, some of them get personal trainers and all this kind of stuff. I'm talking ice guys. For the younger ones, it's almost turned into a job, and I look at it for the NHL guys, that it's a job. It's supposed to be, you're getting paid good money. There was about 5-6 years ago, I had one of the kids, and they were just talking, and I see our season was over, and I heard a few of them talking, and they knew about the spring camp or something like that. I heard one of them say, "Oh, we're starting already," and to me, that's like your body clock is off. You know what I mean? You're like you should have time to. I'm a big fan if they could, and I understand why they start these camps and these leagues and and things like that, and get them into the in the fold and stuff like that. I wish they would join like a soccer league. I can't believe I'm saying soccer on this show.
Wow.
I know, but at least
Wow.
that way they're not going to get
won't lose
hurt.
this argument.
Number one.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, do something. I mean, again, a lot of these European players, they all played soccer. Their hands, their feet, and all that kind of stuff are great, and kind of get away from it a little bit. Even NHL guys, I mean, they try to get away from it for 3-4 weeks.
That's what
things like
Ottinger
that.
said when I talked to him this summer about how he was talking about it's great to train and have a full summer to do that. But he also talked about he just missed running around and playing sports and doing those things because that's huge mentally and physically.
Especially mentally. And again, just kind of turn it off if you can a little bit and just get away from it for a month. But again, I think as you get older, I know it was with me, when you get older, you start working out sooner. You just feel that you're supposed to.
Because the longer you rest, the harder it is to catch back up when you're older.
Yeah.
Well, I remember Jason Spezza once told us, he goes, I might take a week or 2 off. He goes, any longer than that, it would take me 2 months to catch up again.
Yeah, and
it takes longer.
And they're not going hard balls out every day.
No.
They're kind of ramping up as they get to camp, and then they use the camp. Because camp, when I first started, camps were 2 weeks. I mean, 2-week camps, and there was no such thing as a 3-hour rule.
But that was
We did
also a
2 days.
get in shape training camp. That's not really the case anymore, is it?
Yeah, I didn't do that because I was scared shitless going to camp, and so I kind of I did my stuff.
But
all
you
summer
played
long.
with guys that came in at less than peak condition at training camp.
Oh, it was unbelievable. It was incredible.
It's nothing like that now, is it?
Oh no.
Training camp is about trying to make the team, not try to get yourself
Well, you
ready.
have to. You get. I mean, you're here and you get 3 days, and now you're playing your first game or
Yeah.
whatever that may be, and you got to be ready to play in that game because you don't know. Because again, you talk about Bichelle and all these other guys that didn't make a real good impression in their first 2 games in Traverse City, for God's sakes. Let them play in a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So. But yeah, and I think they're all like that now. A lot of them, most of these guys all have private trainers, today. And again, you should. I mean, if you're doing it, I got to do it. You got to do it. So they have the mandatory rules now. I wish they just mandatory got a month off.
I
That's what
agree.
wish.
Yeah.
Honestly, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I give Pete DeBoer major credit here. We've all talked about this before. He's one of the first guys I've seen to really, really make his team take days off during the season. How many practices does he cancel or days they get off? And look
not
what
just
it has
say
done.
it's optional. It's
It's
days
off.
we're
You're
not having a
not
skate
coming,
today.
or they do film instead. It's just so important, and it's something that I think a lot of people are missing. I mean, it's the overwork thing, right? It's like if I'm on the computer all day long, it makes me a good writer. No, that's not how it works.
That's
You
what
have to.
I have that issue too.
You have to focus on. You have to focus on the balance, and I think that's super important. And we're seeing.
I'm telling you, my
sometimes a
fingers
few-
get sore on the computer. My
See, there
eyes
you
get
go.
square.
Yeah.
I can't
Well,
see
Letty,
shit.
your point is about rest is really big. I think that players that specialize too early in their lifetime are more susceptible to being injured because of overuse of the same muscles and tendons and stuff. My kids are both they're teenagers now, and they're both playing lots of sports, which I really encourage. I mean, I don't think they're going to play professionally, but you never know. But the most important thing is, I think, mentally to have a break, physically to do different dexterities, different coordinations is very helpful just as an athlete. I think time away from those teammates and parents and coaches and having a break is not always a bad thing, but I think that you keep hearing in all these things, especially I hear a lot of football coaches talking about kids that are multi-sport athletes. They prefer because they can physically do different things, but they all mentally think the game in a different way.
The other thing is like when you're, if you're 12, 13, 14, whatever it may be, and you're training for hockey or whatever the whole time. We never know if you could be a baseball player, a football player, or a basketball player. We don't get, they don't get the opportunity because they're so dialed into that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm like, man, you could be a really good, there's some of these guys that are great athletes. Because we watch them when they warm up and stuff like that, throwing a football and kicking a soccer ball. Well, anybody can kick a soccer ball. But every time somebody gets hit,
there he is.
Player,
he's back.
But see, when you get hit with a soccer ball and you see a bunch of hockey guys, kind of warming up with a soccer ball, they don't fall over when they get hit with a ball and act like they're going to die.
No,
that doesn't happen.
But it's
definitely back.
It's a great point because just looking at like my personal history, like I played with a lot of hockey players that were hockey guys that played travel all the way since they were little kids, went all year round, and those are the guys that I know that have the muscle imbalances, that have the injuries, that have the lingering effects, and maybe not as flexible to be able to live a life outside of the sports afterwards, which is what we're seeing with some of these guys that are getting surgeries or having to retire because of injuries. I just think it's so important, young age and older, to take yourself away from the one thing all the time. It's never there's such thing as too much of one thing.
Well, speaking of which, Luddy's got to go get on the ice for hockey practice. So the heck with taking some time off.
Could you tell as I was sitting back in my chair?
I put my computer. I
He's
can't
ready to go.
See the clock. So
tomorrow
dangerous.
On the show, there is a Stars season opening media availability with General Manager Jim Nill, head coach Pete DeBoer. Sam will be covering it at Comerica Center in Frisco. He will be calling in remote to our show because it's too close to when our show starts for him to get down the tollway in time. So Luddy and I will be here in studio. Sam will be from the practice rink, and we will get you ready for training camp opening on Thursday up at Comerica Center. It'll be really interesting to see what we hear from Jim Nill and Pete DeBoer tomorrow. Usually if there's any players coming into the training camp sessions with a pre-existing injury, that's when you hear about it, if it doesn't get leaked in the media prior to that. So Sam will have a report about that tomorrow. Luddy's got to go to practice. Thanks so much for all the Discord conversation. We'll get into that later this week. Don't forget, sign up for Die Hard, and you can still get in on that.
Them little logos in one last time down there.
Pick your Martian. There's multiple aliens on that screen. Follow, like, subscribe. All of that really helps. For Luds, for Sam, for John, I'm Owen. Luddy's walking right through the screen. So long, everyone.
We all silly like the mayor.